Welcome, everyone. This is Rob Coleman, gynecologic oncologist, and Chief Scientific Officer for U.S. Oncology Research in the Woodlands, Texas, and the current president of the International Gynecologic Cancer Society. And I want to welcome you to our next edition of Conversations with Coleman. That's me. I was watching the participant list come online. The numbers were going up, and so it's just so exciting to see people join on these webinars. I think Mary Eiken, who's one of our guests today, just mentioned to me that we're all getting a little bit of Zoom fatigue, but this is such an exciting topic, and I'm so happy to be here and to share some of your day with us. I think that this, as we look at kind of FY not FY, a calendar year 2021, we're really excited about what we as we embark onto this journey, what this year is going to have and hold for us, especially as we look forward to our meeting coming up and to all of the numerous things that we're going to be doing with respect to the society. And so we chose this day to start this episode because this is the beginning of World Cancer Week, World Cancer Day being on February 4th. And speaking with Mary Eiken, our Chief Executive Officer, we felt this might be a really good time to touch base of what this means for the society, what it means for us personally, and what it means for all of you. And so we're so pleased to have you join us today to talk about that. I think you may have seen in the invites that we had planned to have Dicey Scruggs, who's our Director of Advocacy, on the call. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it today, but she passed on to us that she is so sorry she couldn't make it, but she wanted to express to me, and we know this is really true, especially those who know her, those of you who know her. She is extremely passionate about the role that advocacy plays, and aligning that with World Cancer Day, for her, has really some special meaning, and it would have been nice to have her be able to express that to you, but we're going to try to do what we can in her absence. There's nothing that can replace Dicey. So, but we hope to maybe get her on a little later in a future episode where we can have a nice discussion about how advocacy has really grown within the society. So a little about World Cancer Day and the International Gynecologic Cancer Society. Many of you may not know this, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, is that IGCS now is a member of the Union for International Cancer Control, the UICC. And this is really important to us, and it aligns a lot with the, very nicely, at least with the, the mission of the society, and how this campaign really rolls out in line with our mission. There's a lot of different opportunities to raise worldwide awareness, and we think that one of our core values is to leverage the I in IGCS, which is the international. And so we feel that this is really aligned for us and provides us an opportunity to reach across the globe to bring life-saving cancer treatment and equitable life-saving cancer treatment to all patients and to all caregivers. So Mary, I want to invite you to this to join me in this session. I promise not to pick on you, but it's really hard to do. No, I'm just kidding. So Mary, but isn't this so awesome? It's so great to have you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. Or did I invite myself? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, exactly. I just said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's really a great topic that you've chosen for this edition of Conversations with Coleman. Global awareness days like World Cancer Day give us all the opportunity to reflect and examine our purposes, both as organizations, but also as individuals, as you mentioned. And now, having just approved late last year, the IGCS Health Equity Statement, I really feel like this gives us an even more motivation and inspiration on our work at IGCS. It's so important that we map and tie the majority of our work to this global health equity in mind. So I'm excited about World Cancer Day and all the opportunities that are there for organizations.
Yeah, totally agree. This year's World Cancer Day theme is I am and I will. And, that is, it's a great way to put it. I think it points out the individualization and the empowerment that we are trying to give all people who deal with women, all patients actually with cancer as they embark on their journey. It is really a compelling statement. What do you think?
I agree, Rob. It's one thing to say I am, but the actionable part is I will, right?
Hmm.
And I love that. It really kind of, like I said earlier, motivates us. And you can find so many ways to get involved. I think the theme allows everyone to look at the issue from that personal lens, right?
Hmm.
For instance, IGCS as an organization would say, I am a cancer
Hmm.
organization and I will make an impact. Or I am an individual and I will spread the word. And I think the website guides us in ways that we are able to do that and really become involved at any level that people are comfortable with.
Yeah, I totally love that. It's really a great theme. It does speak a lot. I love how in such a small set of words you can actually bring such a wide meaning. And it's great because for everybody it has this different personal, not only individualization, but also, as I mentioned, an empowerment to do something about it. And I'd really encourage our viewers today to kind of check out the worldcancerday.com. So all one word, worldcancerday.com. And see the website and see how you can participate in the campaign. In fact, we're hopeful that throughout the course of this discussion, you can send us some questions or address some concerns. We'll try to get to work. We're actually monitoring multiple different devices. I got a team of people looking on their phones, checking us out in the chat session. We got the Q&A. We got WhatsApp. So we got it. Bring it on. We're ready to tackle so many questions you have in this short period of time we have. But yeah, I think that the website really lays out some key issues that can be addressed to help reduce the global burden of cancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know one thing that Dicey and I have had conversations about is this mental and emotional impact of cancer, right? A lot
Yeah.
of times we think about cancer as a physical disease, but there's so much more of that are affected, by the mental and emotional impact of cancer. So I applaud UICC and those behind this day and really highlighting this mental and emotional impact of cancer, especially now in this COVID era.
Hmm.
It's just so powerful and something that patients and caregivers can get behind. We're fortunate, as I said, to have Dicey as our advocate leader and her ability to connect with so many patients globally on what they experience. She started our patient roundtable series. This really facilitates.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
great, wasn't it?
they
That
are.
was
We
yeah, it
get
was a
such
great program.
positive feedback from them. It's
Hmm.
really helping patients and their families through this cancer journey is such a part of IGCS and really aligns with the World Cancer Day key issue as well.
Absolutely. We had a a roundtable not too long ago. I was impressed. 82 countries or something like that. People from all over the world joined us. What amazing. But as I think about this, just as I sit down and think about how I might counsel one of my patients regarding the disease or even a clinical trial,
Right. Yeah.
it's very, very complex and there's a lot of questions and there's only so much time and you of course always patients like they walk out the door like, oh, I forgot to ask. So part of this advocacy series is to not only bring knowledge but just strategy for how they can get to understand what's going on and how to communicate that very effectively. So I'm so proud of how advocacy has blossomed within our society. And I think a central tenet to that, I think you would agree with me, is enforcing this issue of equity,
Mhm.
right? So one of the amazing things about the International Gynecologic Cancer Society, and one of the things that drew me to this organization from day one, has really been how how differential access to care is around the world. And I
Right.
felt that was aligned with a core principle in me, and that's, and I know with many other practitioners, is trying to figure out the best way to get the best treatment to patients all over the world and find a way that we can do this in an equitable way. And so, with society's help, we were able to craft a statement which we released in October. I think like you, we felt this was core to our mission. And I'm so proud we did it because, man, hasn't that led to a bunch of discussions. And what I love about it is that when we have, many people may not know this, but we have these regular council meetings, and we start out that meeting to look at our programs to see if they align with the statement. Isn't that it's just so great to have that kind of focus.
That's
Right.
right. And it's so great that the council got so behind this, right? They were
Yeah.
all in from the beginning on this statement. And it does make us pause, right, as an organization and think about our programming. So many days and weeks and months, you just kind of get in that circle on that treadmill, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes to jump off and really examine and look at our core principles. Are our programs aligning with the mission, with looking at, as you said, the inequities, globally? And then what can we do really to try to correct this, right? I really didn't grasp, I got to be honest, Rob, when you were like, we should really think about, and I was like, oh, here we go again, another and I really didn't.
Aspirational thing.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
I really didn't grasp the magnitude of it. And now, like you said, that we make it part of our day, my team and I talk about, what programming are we doing to really address this issue? Yeah, it's been very inspirational, I think, for all of us.
Absolutely. When I think about, how it's reflected within our own organization, I remember when I first joined, we would look through the different development of these different programs. And we would think, how they're maybe important, but now that we kind of align them around what our kind of our global mission is, and to address issues of inequity across the globe, I think it's really become a foundational component of how we actually grow and iterate the actual society. And we have a lot of great examples of that. We just had a meeting over the weekend on mentoring and the young investigators. God, what a blast that was! Oh my goodness, it was so exciting. And we had, I don't remember, something like, what was it, like 50 countries or something of young investigators who joined from all over the world. And some of the questions were like, well, how do I conduct research in my setting? How do I find the time to do this? What's the best strategy to be able to think about how to do research in my setting? So reaching out on a global scale on how we can, add to the scientific base in all these different countries, extremely important. We have this global curriculum that we've been working on. We have an incredible team of dedicated members that have set this in motion. Many thanks to former President Michael Quinn and Kathleen Schmaler and others in our group that have set this together. We have 13 sites that are doing well. We had 7 graduates in the past 2 years, which is so cool. We have this Project ECHO, which connects cancer specialists from all over the world, where we do tour board presentations, getting strategies. And I've been amazed in some of these conferences to think about how we can utilize local resources to optimize patient care. And what's come out of that is actually another kind of initiative, which is how do we standardize reporting, for instance? So important for a disease like endometrial cancer, where we need to know about factors such as, microsatellite instability, something that can be done actually on a global scale. So very, very important there. And as mentioned, we have our, early career research and publications effort. As mentioned, that the conference we had this last week was just really terrific. And what's beautiful about this, and this again, one of your brainchilds, is how can we engage the audience, dealing with the financial constraints around the world. And you have this, developed this tiered membership structure that's allowed us to really reach the international audience.
Yeah, that's right, Rob. Our membership has really now been structured to bring in our regional societies as partners, right? And provide them with a tiered, structured, whose economic indicators, based off the World Bank pricing. So I'm super excited about, we've really, as you always say, taken that eye and made ourselves international, and we've spread ourselves. When you look at the map now, it truly is end to end and around. So, and we do the same with our annual meeting registration. So I'm glad that we've opened our doors, our borders, and have really welcomed in so many new partners and members that I hope that they feel as welcome and that this is their home too.
Absolutely. So COVID hasn't stopped us. Not yet.
Never.
I love
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
So we could go on and on. This is fantastic, and I'm obviously very passionate about it. It's very exciting to see. But
Yeah.
I wanted to maybe touch base, get back to a little bit about World Cancer Day and the UICC, and you mentioned that IGCS has recently joined it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's been something on, I think, the radar of all of you and the leadership for the last year to 18 months. And, so much in life is about timing, right? And it really feels we're positioned well to become a member and honestly contribute to the UICC and what they do, in terms of their cancer control and their programs at a global level. It's really about being part of a community, about capacity building. They've got really great resources and opportunities to increase our advocacy efforts, and I believe have a voice at the table for GYN cancers globally. So I am really excited, once we start having meetings and traveling again, I think IGCS is going to have a positive impact within UICC and so much of what they do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's going to be a number of ways I'm sure we'll be able to see, especially how we're aligned with global health as being kind of a central tenet of our programs.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these programs will grow and iterate as as time goes on, and really try to align with the mission of World Cancer Day, but also align it along with gynecologic cancers as you mentioned.
Right.
So that's great.
It is good. And, again, thanks so much, Rob, for taking the time to make this your topic today. I think we have a couple questions, if it's okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
One came in as part of the registration process from Alex in the US. And I think it's a great question. And he asked, what strategies can we use to increase the involvement of low to middle income countries in clinical trials? And this is a very timely question.
Oh, that's for sure. And of course, Alex would come up with like the thought-provoking, provocative question. Alex,
yeah,
I love you, brother. Thank you so much. So this is really great. And obviously, this is something I'm super passionate about as well. As I mentioned, it's one of the reasons I got into this society was because of its international footprint. I think we're trying to learn what those barriers are around the world. We have engaged with the Gynecologic Cancer Intergroup, as well as the CCRN, to develop a formal memorandum of understanding that allow us to be able to review the way that trials could be operationalized in low resource settings. Part of that was, as I mentioned, we had this weekend a young investigators conference, several hours, viewing everything from how do you set up a database to how do you find a mentor. And in that process, there's many opportunities. Many of the questions that were coming in were things like, how can I find resources to develop, statistics on powering my study? So you can see that the energy and the will is there. So it's just a matter of kind of developing the right resources to point those efforts to help answer those types of questions. And I think our ability to provide mentorship in that capacity and to help them foster mentorship locally is again another way that we can engage these research efforts in low resource settings. So I think that's terrific.
And I think too, Rob, our partnerships, right? Like I'm glad that we have partnerships, not just on a membership perspective, but organizationally, right? UICC or GCIG and CCRN, very committed to a lot of the same things that we are. And actually, I think we'll be having a conversation with the CCRN leadership coming up about clinical trials in low resource settings. And I think they're going to have some type of a grants program as well. So that's really exciting to be able to offer that in our settings as well. So yeah.
Totally agree. I got another question that came in, Mary, from Clara McKay, and the question is, I'm trying to read it as fast, make it sound like I got it off the top of my head. So, so just give me a little bit of time. But it's something that has to do with how, kind of the emotional impact from in this COVID era, and how can advocates align or work together with clinicians globally to help support each other on these efforts that we outlined in, that align with the World Cancer Day initiatives.
Right. And, I think, and thank you, Clara, we love the work that WOCC does on a regular basis. I think in terms of like our members and, the impact that COVID has had, we've talked about possibly doing a postgraduate course on physician health. And I think that now is probably a very good time to start considering, looking at something like that. I think in terms of globally patient advocates and clinicians to support each other, I think things like this roundtable that Dicey has started is a really good first step in bringing clinicians and patients and their family members together to talk about some of these things that don't always get the headline news or, are in the forefront of some of the conversations. So I think we have to be aware of each other. We have to embrace each other and really, truly make this a partnership as we continue to struggle through these days now of vaccination and what COVID's doing. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I do actually. I would say that this is, we actually learned a lot from our patients and the advocates when we were conducting clinical trials in this COVID era, still dealing with it. But one of the kind of the positives that came out of this is that we were able to relax some of the constraints that were the regulatory constraints that were imposed on us from the agencies, the regulatory agencies with regard to ongoing clinical trials to account for things like remote monitoring or electronic consenting. And because it became a necessity, but it was also, it showed that we could actually do this and do it effectively. And I know that in some of our organizations like the Gynecologic Oncology Group, we actually have an abstract that's going to be presented at the Society for Gynecologic Oncology in a couple of months that talks about how the accrual in that society actually maintained its way through COVID, largely in response to this interaction that we had with our patient advocates and the patients regarding their struggles during the COVID problem. So I think, there were some positives that came out of it. And I do think that communication to learn what these barriers are and see how we can work together to overcome them will really aid us in the future outside of the COVID environment. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, totally agree. I see one here from Mozambique, which is where we have one of our training sites as well. So thank you for joining. Yes, we agree about publications and obviously where to store data. Our current training programs use REDCap as a tool. And it's a really good resource for accumulating aggregate data. I'm sure there are other options out there as well, but we certainly need to, and this is why our early career is here, to help stimulate residents and physicians to want to do more research and investigations.
Yeah, I've always found that, one of the questions that came up at this last weekend was, what do I look for in a mentee? And I said passion. So I said, I want them to come in there hungry to want to do it. And Pedro Ramirez, many of you know Pedro, he also said that he wanted them, commitment, essentially to stay with it, to work intensively, to be able to deliver. I think those are really aspects. And so for young, we feel it. We know that there are people out there that want to do this. So finding, a good mentor who can help identify resources, even if they don't have access to it, the mentor itself can help, can also reach out to, any of us to help identify and help identify resources as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's about IGCS, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are about coming to a close, Rob. I know we're going to show a slide in a minute of the UICC logo and the website on where to go. And I'm excited about World Cancer Day. I think it's going to highlight all the cancers. And we in particular will do our part to raise gynecologic cancer awareness as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary. This has been a great episode. I really appreciate the numerous people that join us on that. And we'll field some questions as long as we can, and hopefully we'll get them answered by direct exchange. But really, everybody, go ahead, please check out the worldcancerday.org website and see what you can do to participate and support the campaign. And until we go live, I'll wait to see you again in the near future on another one of these conversations. But thanks for joining us today. And Mary,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks
for
so much.
joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care.